Welcome everyone, real pleasure to have you here today on this Supercharger webinar regarding global edtech trends. We are very lucky to have three outstanding professionals that have been seeing how the edtech market has been transformed in the last 12 months, but also going forward. Before talking about this topic, I wanted each of them to be able to introduce themselves and say where they're from and what is the biggest edtech trend they've seen in their respective country. Majid, should we start with you?
Okay, thank you. My name is Magid Harby. I am the General Manager of Adventures. Adventures is a corporate venture capital located in Egypt. We are focused only on education and the edtech sector. And we have now 9 investments, 9 startups in our portfolio. And we are looking to expand our portfolio to be 20 startups by the end of next year.
Thank you, Majid.
Thank you.
Danish?
Hi, yeah.
So do you mind introducing yourself and where you're based?
Sure. Hi, my name is Danish. I am the co-founder and director of the Institute of Excellence in Learning and Teaching. Our main focus is education, but with the added with the pandemic and all the problems that we are facing, we are also introducing the technology part, which we already has in focus since the beginning. But given the circumstances, we are now working on it more and more and providing the solutions of edtech technology within the integrated curriculum and within the integrated classroom technologies. We are providing that solutions to schools and universities. Before that, we were only focusing on the Pakistan, but now we have ventured out to Dubai, and we are also working in regards to schools and universities in UAE in terms of providing them the solutions and the infrastructures and the apps and websites related to classroom teaching.
Fantastic. And Wajeeha, your turn.
Okay, so hello, I'm Wajeeha from Pakistan, and I have been in the Pakistan's edtech industry since 2015, when edtech was a relatively new word over here in Pakistan. And I've just founded my own company under the name of Teach Power. Under Teach Power's umbrella, we want to bring something new to Pakistan, which is develop an e-commerce, an educational e-commerce that can provide teachers, parents, schools, everyone with a one-go solution to every educational problem, be it educational resources, courses, training workshops, anything anything possible under that umbrella of education we'd want to through Teach Power.
Fantastic. Thanks, all of you. So maybe starting with, maybe the obvious question. So, from your respective countries and where you currently stand, what is the biggest trend in edtech in your home market? And let's start with you, Majid.
Okay, the biggest trends for edtech market, especially after COVID-19, become going to the remote learning, especially for online tutoring, plus the recorded videos platforms that provide several types of courses and training for youth and other ages. Also, there is new trends, but it is not scalable or not that big right now, which is the needed for the gamification, and also the VR and mixed reality that can integrate with education and edtech trends in MENA region.
No, it's very interesting. When we're talking about virtual reality, do you see any difficulty of implementation of virtual reality? We have a company, Action Park, but there was a question around the availability, for example, of hardware that is needed to make it happen. So how are you perceiving this as potentially a problem for the adoption of VR in Egypt?
Yes, VR and AR and this new type of technologies is trends is becoming more interesting. But in Egypt, to implement it, it needs innovative ideas to do it, not hardwares. I think hardwares now is available with good quality and good technology, but the problem is to do a good and innovative idea and make it profitable and scalable in the market. This is, I think, is the big issue to do VR and XR.
Excellent. Danish, what about yourself? What do you see in your country?
I'm going to talk about two countries here because I've been working for both part. So let's talk about the Dubai part first. In Dubai, I see technology getting huge marks, because here we are very much open. Schools and universities are very much open to adapt the newest trends in technology, and also they are very much focused in student-centric environment rather than teacher-centric, and that is one of the most I would say the betterment of the education is if we have a class with the student-centric environment. Only then we'll be able to excel in whatever the new advancement that is coming. Here we are progressing towards not only how to identify the gaps in technology, but also fulfilling that gap, right? So if we talk about a classroom or any subject, so teachers are very much open towards adopting that particular application or website in order to bring newer ways to teach and learn with the students. But when it comes to Pakistan, now here what we see is the very first thing that we see is the desire to learn. Basically, teachers, because they are underpaid, right? Because they are underpaid, they are not really much going towards the different ways of learning new things of technology, because that is very costing to them. Okay, because schools are not really bearing the cost of these things. So as a professional development organization, we are facing a lot of trouble in making schools understand and realize that these sort of things will be very much helpful to you in order to bring newer ways in learning dimensions, right? Just talk about the pandemic part. Okay, in pandemic, now they have to go for the online infrastructure. Before that, they were very much unwilling towards it. Okay, they were not at all ready to adapt any sort of new technology or any sort of newer ways of learning and teaching in the tech part. But now they have to. So when it comes to you forcefully, you are not very much you are not able to do it in a more proper or profound way as you would have if you have accepted it willingly, right? So now they have to do it forcefully. So when it comes to forceful part, they are facing a lot of issues. They are facing a lot of issues in terms of, first of all, in terms of internet. The problem of internet in Pakistan. It's sometimes it's working, sometimes it's not working. So that is the first issue. Then the electricity part. Sometimes we have it, sometimes we don't. So we are not very much in communication with our students and teachers at all. And when both of these things are there, then comes the third part, the understanding of technology. Very few teachers or very few schools have this understanding of technology, how to use it. And if they don't, they are very eager to learn it. But here we see very less teachers and schools in learning those new parts. So yeah, when it comes to Dubai, I would say that we have an edtech possibility of more than 20-30 years. That in 30 years, we will still be working on edtech. We will still be working on newer ways of bringing edtech in Dubai, here in UAE. But in Pakistan, I think as soon as the pandemic is over, we will go back to our traditional ways. Right now, because we have to do it, because schools have been shut down completely and people are working from home and teachers are teaching from home, so they have to use the technology forcefully. But as soon as the schools are opened and the pandemic is over, they will still go back to the traditional ways. Why? Because that is very easy for them. adapting a technology, it's very difficult for them.
Understood. And actually, Wajeeha, so if I bring it to you, right, and in a way, Danish was already doing that segue, but what do you see as the biggest trend in your market? But I think more importantly, what is the current edtech trend that you believe will disappear when COVID is over, right? So certain things will stay, but certain things will go back to normal. And what do you think those things will be? What do you think those things will disappear?
The usage of
Danish, it's for Wajeeha.
Yeah. Sorry.
Can you hear me, Wajeeha?
Yes, I can. I think you were asking about what will stay and what will disappear after things go back to normal. See, basically, like Danish talked about, in Pakistan, we have a lot of challenges. Many of those stem from the fact that we belong to a very reluctant mindset. Like I told you, way back in 2015, when I started working with EdTech, and I asked a school to implement learning management, a model-based learning management system. There were literally maybe 90% people who resisted the change. Now today this school was pandemic ready. However, the teachers, the school staff, the management is ready to go back to traditional ways as soon as possible. And sadly, I do not see a persistent, a consistency in edtech staying in Pakistan for a very long time. There is just going to be a niche market that is going to adopt edtech and implement it for the longer run. This has happened with maybe only schools that have the economic resources, whom we call sort of the elite class schools in Pakistan. These are the only ones who have actually completely holistically approached and embraced the edtech wave and taken full advantage of the pandemic and of the ongoing situation, and will continue with the same. What we are seeing in Pakistan right now is a literal, if I can use the word, mess of things, where people are not aware of what, edtech is not just knowing how to use a tool. EdTech is also knowing the digital pedagogy behind it, knowing the pedagogy of when to implement it and how to implement it. So what we are seeing here is just a race in how much or how many tools do I know, but do I know whether to implement it at this phase of my lesson or at a later phase of my lesson? That is still not there, and that is what is causing more learning gaps rather than rectifying the situation. So schools again in Pakistan have mostly just adopted the edtech or remote learning or online facilities more as forceful thing, more as something that needed to be done, rather as an initiative that can actually radicalize the way they are teaching and learning.
And actually, from what you were saying, and Majid, if we take your investor hat on, right? So you have a long-term vision for investment. What are the example of edtech companies that you see, but you don't want to invest in because you don't believe this pain point will continue going forward? It's for Majid.
Okay, sorry.
I think for now the trends will not be related to the pandemic after it will end or not. I think it will be related to the level of maturity that we have. As I mentioned, for the VR and XR, I think it will take more time to find a good company to invest. And for the trends that will disappear, I think nothing will disappear, especially that there is a support from the country and the government towards technology and to implement technology starting from schools and after schools. There is startups related to school management system and learning management system are now becoming have more schools integrated with them and participating and having their service, and they are going towards digital more than the normal trends that we have. So I think it will it will continue, and the one will disappear will be there will be market leaders, and the smaller ones or the not mature one will disappear. This is my opinion.
Okay, and so I've been asking. So, for example, if you think about Zoom, right? And currently, Zoom usage is very high because everyone is on it, etc., etc. But do we believe this makes sense to keep? So, what is that hybrid model where you think, online? So, for example, there's tools like, and how do we do valuation on this basis, right? So, right now, a lot of the user base of edtech solution is inflated because we need them more than what we would need them normally, even if we go back to hybrid. So I think Zoom, for example, number will go down. I think that apps that look at registration on online classes will go down. So I think that there's a whole layers of startups that will still be needed, but not growing as quickly. Would you agree with this? And anyone, feel free to answer this one.
Yes, I agree that none of them will be totally 100 online, and we have to have the mixed model or hybrid model or blended model to have the offline and online together. But the growth rate, for example, for Zoom, I think will continue, but will not with the huge numbers as happened in COVID. So I agree with you. Yes.
Okay. And anyone else on this?
Sure. Please go ahead.
No, Danish, please continue. I'll add on.
As you have mentioned the Zoom part, right? So what I believe is Zoom in the whole concept of edtech solutions, Zoom is something that should be used on a temporary base rather than going into the complete permanent part of the edtech system. What I believe is Zoom is more of a corporate based solution rather than education, because in education you need more and more solutions, not only just video conferencing but also the assessment part, the evaluation part, the home assignment part, the attendance solutions. So that needs a proper learning management system. Yeah, you can always add the Zoom add-on on the learning management system. I still remember when the pandemic hit us, we created a solution learning management system, and we added the Zoom on it so that teachers can do a video conferencing with the students as well as take assessments, do quizzes and everything. So what happened was that teacher liked the idea, they started working on it, we gave them the training, but what happened was that when it comes to Zoom, a lot of the students, a lot of the teachers were complaining about interruptions. Like it may be the network issues or whatever the reason was, but they were not very much satisfied when it comes to teaching on Zoom. In Pakistan, I'm talking about. I don't know about the other countries, but in Pakistan, I'm talking about. So I always believe that it's not only Zoom that can provide the whole solution. Even we went into the hybrid mode and schools open up and they go 50-50, 50% traditional, 50% online. Even then, I don't think Zoom will be able to help out much. We need a whole management system to create a proper learning facilitated with students and teachers.
I'd like to add on to Danish's response, because I think that Zoom is more of a fad at the moment. It cannot cater to both the synchronous and the asynchronous modes of learning. When we talk about learning going on in any remote or online situation, we need to take care that it's not just synchronized learning that's going on. What about the asynchronous part of learning that needs to be there? Because that's the part that that is also important, that helps develop connections, that helps scaffold. And that is what is actually missing in Pakistan. Zoom caught on as a fad, I believe, and like I said, everyone just pitched in that it's not going anywhere. But I believe that its usage will sort of come to a standardized pace, a standardized level at a certain point in time, especially as things start going normal. However, what we need to promote is not just remote learning or completely online learning. We need to promote blended learning. We need to teach educators to, sort of very discreetly pick up how much percentage of their learning needs to be online, needs to go through a learning management system, or needs to go through some other edtech tool maybe, and how much needs to be done in the classroom. There are definite advantages, researched advantages, that I have seen happen through blended learning, and that's what we need to promote. We need to ensure that synchronous and asynchronous classrooms go on together. They are tied down together somehow.
No, I think that's really clear. Maybe, we have about 10 minutes left. I wanted to ask you, I think edtech is global, but every part of the world has a different advantage, right? When we think about China, we think about cutting edge use of AI for learning. When you think about Finland, you think about pedagogy. When you think about the US, you think about K-12, right? So edtech is global, but there's pockets of competitive advantages. If you think about your own country, what do you think your country and startups in your country can do better than anywhere else? Or where do you think your country is more open to test innovation in education more than anyone else?
Okay, so if I was to continue that answer, I'd say that Pakistan's edtech situation is definitely growing. We have seen tremendous growth in the IT infrastructure, which has contributed to definite edtech growth. However, what we are lacking, and we have innovation, we have people with an entrepreneurial mindset. What we do not have at the moment is government legislation or that economic support coming from the government in terms of government policies, investments that can sort of bring forward this wave of young people willing to develop edtech initiatives, take them forward, and to support the education system in its growth and progression.
Majid, you wanted to add something?
I think we have a mix model from different countries all over the world. As you see regarding US and China, I think both of them are the market leaders for education technology. Also, India is coming to the list, especially in the latest 2 years. And if we go to Europe, I think they are leaders in the content part. So in Africa, I think we have the ability to have the mix from all over the countries. But I think we have a gap from innovative ideas, and in special countries we have missing parts in the infrastructure and the high-end internet and technology to implement. So I think our model will be mixed from these countries.
Danish?
Yeah. I'm going to talk about UAE, as Wajeeha has already discussed the Pakistan part. So here in UAE, I see three things which might gain a momentum over other countries, and that is, first thing is ready to accept. They are in schools I've seen, in university I've seen, even in the corporates I've seen, they're ready to accept whatever the new trends are coming. Second thing is economical support. A great economical support is here, where in schools, even the public or private schools can apply for it and take grants to provide new ways of learning and teaching strategies. So economical support is there. And third thing is startups. Here, every now and then there is a new tech startup coming up with new solutions, with new trends. So I would say the innovations between the tech startups. So innovation is here with the rise of tech startups, ready to accept an economical support. So I believe these three things in UAE might gain a momentum in terms of not only educational tech, but also tech in general.
And as a last question I have for each of you, and it's becoming a habit. So, you know, a lot of technology sector, they're neutral for society, but I think education has really a power of doing something good, right? So, can you share an example that you've seen in the last 12 months where edtech has made a positive change in either the life of someone or in a school? Essentially, can you give us an example where the implementation of edtech has given the smile or better life to someone that you know, or that's a story that you've heard, but a bit of a nicer way to show that, you know, not everything is negative during COVID, that there's some very positive stories. And I would love to hear if you have some example that you wanted to share.
So yeah, I remember one school I was working with in Pakistan, and Wajeeha was with me on that project. So we were working on this school. It's one of the most traditional schools of Pakistan, one of the most oldest schools of Pakistan. And when it comes to old school and traditional school, you might think that the ability to accept new technology can be a very daunting task for them. So, but when we go there, we realize that they are actually very keen on adapting this new trend. And we met the teachers, and teachers were like, the teachers were on a stage where they were even having trouble using laptop. So that stage of teachers were on that way, that they were even having a problem with using the laptop, utilizing Microsoft Word document or PowerPoint. So after the completion, after we started the project, and we, as the day goes by, and we worked on different ways, we introduced different tags, we introduced different softwares and gadgets for them to utilize. In the end, even the oldest teachers over there, even the aged teachers over there, they were like so amazed by this whole program, and they did an open day. They did an open day after our project was in completion. They did an open day for the students and parents, and every project that they showcased on that open day was completely on based of tech. Every project was based on tech, and they were so happy in regards to that, and they were so thankful on that they said that up till now, whatever projects we used to do, we used to use chart papers, and we used to have art and craft, but this time we changed the whole agenda of our open day, and we made everything on the base of tech. I mean, their students were making battery powered solar cars which provide the electricity. They showcased a demo of that the battery powered solars which provide the electricity. Those type of projects they created, and by the use of technology and different programs, and they created this whole open day for us. And when we went there, the aged teachers were actually crying when they showcased their project, and they said that it was very difficult for us to even think about using technology, but after this program, we are now in so much capable that whatever happens, we know that we can now do it with technology, with the use of technology. And just right after that, the pandemic hits. And when the pandemic hits, the principal actually called us and told us that we are very much thankful to you that we did all of this before this happened, and now we are, in much safer hand in terms of in comparison to the other schools who were facing a bit trouble during this time.
Fantastic. Maybe Majid and Wajeeha, like very shortly, in a minute each, can you give me one example of fintech, of edtech for good?
Okay, I have an example with a startup from our portfolio called Colin. This startup provides the school management system. And during the COVID, many schools need to implement LMS or something like that to do the school homeschooling and virtual schooling and via something like Zoom or etc. And they found that he has around 13 module bus tracking and attendance and different elements. And after this, in this year, I think all of these schools need to renew the license with him. Also, they need to continue, not only regarding the COVID, but for facilitating their process regarding in their schools and their staff. So this was a successful story, and he started with 4 schools, and now he has around 100 schools in just 3 or 4 months.
All right. So, as you know, Pakistan tops the philanthropy index in the world. So, philanthropy has knocked on the gates of edtech as well. I was just recently completing a research study on edtech in Pakistani schools, and I came across Pakistan have actually opened their doors, have enrolled schools for free, and have provided edtech support during the pandemic to educate children who belonged to the underprivileged government schools or who did not have access to online learning, mobile phones being distributed, laptops being distributed, schools being brought online to the whatever available learning applications there are and there were. So this is one example of how Pakistan has sort of coped up with by developing private-public partnerships in education and using edtech to actually make life a little better for people who cannot sort of do it for themselves.
Fantastic. Well, look, all 3 of you, I wanted to really thank you for sharing your insights around global edtech trends. Very also interesting to see how the dynamic in your respective regions are different from what you would see, for example, in Europe or in the US. So on the behalf of everyone at Supercharger, we wanted to really thank you for today. And I wish you all the best. Congratulations for being such thought leaders and active actors in your own respective ecosystem. And I hope that everyone will enjoy as much the insight that we've been sharing today with everyone else.